June 2019, Jupiter in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces in their ruling signs in square, also been squared by the passing internal Gemini planets, Sun, Mercury, Venus. This has led to a fragmentation of the opinions and of the views all around in the Western world. We saw this in all of these election cycles, European Parliament, Spain, UK, and in the US also fragmentation, 22 or more candidates trying to run against Trump. And at the same time, the Attorney General Barr beginning his investigations. So one can say now with this astrological alignment, the situation we had building up for 2 years is definitely transforming, and we're only half a year away now, end of 2019, early 2020, when the big Saturn Pluto alignment in Capricorn takes place. That's an alignment that talks to us about the changes of the structures of governments, institutions, banking. And with Uranus in Taurus, we also always look at real value, and Uranus is probing the real values. This is the discussion of Bitcoin and also artificial intelligence. And so the Nordics are saying to me, you know, the ETs, they don't do artificial intelligence. It's either intelligence or it's not. The humans do artificial intelligence, but the ETs, they have living systems. For instance, they could do computers out of cell plants, out of hemp, or they could do anti-gravity propulsion using other rare earth materials, crystals, etc. We're now moving into a completely different time, 2020, where the viewpoints of people are changing, where a lot of people are actually beginning to understand the transformation that's ahead. It's a very fundamental transformation that's going to take about 2 to 3 years, really leading us up to Neptune, Saturn, which is probing the entire reality of how this planet works, because we're dealing clearly with Earth changes on the way, and that's the biggest issue that we all have to address together with the new technologies, because we're going to need to develop other technologies. For instance, electric vehicles are questionable because the batteries themselves rely on rare earth materials, and the cars themselves are built half with petroleum materials, so we have not really solved at all the problem of how to become self-sustained. And that's Uranus in Taurus for 6 years, looking into how can we revolutionize technologies in order to become self-sufficient. So, the fragmentation of society that we're seeing happening now in the Western world, where we have a view into it, is amazing during this astrological alignment going into 2020 and then 25. And we see it everywhere. Scotland, UK, Catalonia, Spain. Catalonia is a specific situation. And the US as well. And other places, too many to list. But what it has in common is people have fragmented in light of finding out that the actual system they thought was a democracy, they're beginning to figure out it's more of an open authoritarianism. Before it was a hidden dictatorship, authoritarianism, with rule of law in place that on a sunny day works. But when it gets challenged, like it does in all the places we're discussing now, at that point, the true nature of what this democracy is about comes out. It's like the wheel drops and you see the actual face of the system, or whatever is left of this system. This is the astrological development we're going through in 2019, 2020, until Saturn, Jupiter move into Aquarius. At that point, I would think society opens up. But what has to happen in these 2 years to rearrange a functional system of rule of law? I don't know where we have to go, but the rule of law is under question in all of the Western democracies. It's turning out to be seen as a farce. For instance, the trial in Madrid against the Catalans is to a high degree invented. They're making up from the prosecution side accusations that are not really true. And we'll see now how this plays out. In the next few months we're going to have resolution on these issues. By October we will know the judgment in Madrid. We'll also know what happens with Brexit, UK and Scotland. So during this astrological alignment, the same goes for Trump, by the way, who has now Jupiter on his moon sign, we will see the transformation of all of these situations. And I could go through many more. France, Le Pen, Macron. Le Pen was slightly by 1% above Macron in these last elections.